I think one of the most striking passages in the novel for me comes quite early on when Grenfell is going on and the fire at Cornelius's house is going on at the same time. And there's a kind of, I think, an outpouring of rage about what happened at Grenfell in that passage. And I don't think I've read in contemporary fiction something that has that pitch of anger before. It sort of made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you felt about writing about Grenfell, and whether it was something that you kind of approached sensitively or with any anxiety, because obviously it's something that still thrums very powerfully in the hearts of all of those victims' families and so on. But were there any kind of questions or challenges that you faced addressing that really, really sensitive and distressing topic?
Yeah, it was very challenging actually, because I knew that when Grenfell happened, I knew that I had to record it in some way. In the same way that I had felt when Obama won the election, I felt that that was something that I wanted to record. So I just knew that I wanted to build some kind of monument to Grenfell that would make sure that it was remembered, and that many years from now there would be a document that contained it, and that contained it in a way that was accurate and truthful. But at the same time, it was a huge challenge, because you know, I asked myself, do I have a right to write about Grenfell? And how is it possible to write about something like that, that sort of tragedy and atrocity on such a huge scale, and to do so in a way that doesn't completely overpower the story that you're trying to tell? So it was a really difficult thing to achieve, the threading together of those two fires. And I think especially because I lived very near to Grenfell, and so I almost had a kind of a quite personal reaction to it, because it could easily have happened to me, or you know, members of my community. So it felt extremely visceral. So so the anger kind of came out naturally in the writing. It was impossible to keep the anger out of the writing. You know, there's that you feel like, as the narrator, because I tend to write in this omniscient narrator voice, that the emotions of the narrator should be somehow kind of reserved and kept away from the text. But in that particular scene with Grenfell, I found that actually just impossible to do, and I felt that the anger belonged there.
Yeah.
It was important to kind of express the kind of the outrage, and I wanted to record the names of some of the people who died in the fire, and to kind of imagine the evenings and the lives that they might have been living at that point, as a way of, you know, remembering them, you know, and humanizing them beyond the larger story of the fire.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I found really poignant and sort of devastating about that passage of the text, was the focus on the ordinariness of the lives of those people that are lost. Because, as you say, I think now that has been sort of concealed behind a bigger political argument that's going on around it. I think the actual fact that there were children, mothers, grandmothers, and so on, I think that isn't really being focused on as much anymore. And I think in some ways, actually, kind of scarily, I think Grenfell is kind of disappearing from public discourse. And I think that is very deliberate, and I think that is something that was really, I don't know, I was really enlivened when I started reading this novel and thought, okay, actually, we're now ready to kind of tackle this in our fiction so that it doesn't just disappear, and so that we keep remembering that what happened in Grenfell is part of a larger nexus of the ways in which the lives of people of colour in this country are problematized by those in power. So I mean, yeah, I'm very grateful for the way that you've tackled that really, really thorny subject.